Denver schools without air conditioning are no place for kids to learn in heat like this. Some schools will be waiting for years.
There's a lot of schools without hope right now of getting air conditioning anytime soon.
What is it they say about no good deed? Coloradans who helped the state prevent unemployment fraud now find themselves unable to get unemployment when they need it. The Colorado GOP's lawyer went down to Georgia. DA says he was looking for an election to steal. He got a hefty bond so he doesn't abscond. He's not willing to make a deal. And the world's most famous restaurant guy just snubbed Colorado's most diverse food scene. That's tonight on Next. Denver's school classrooms have a lot in common with Instagram influencers. They're both hot, and they're often empty inside. Another day with temperatures too high for kids to learn, so they were sent home early. And this is going to keep happening at some schools for years. Here's Mark Salinger.
Excitement on the first week of school is cut short by early afternoon.
School's let out early because it's 92, 93 degrees right now and only going to get hotter.
Hot enough to take a break on the walk home.
I really don't think they should have started school today, frankly.
Bryce Holder knows it's not much cooler inside at Godsman Elementary in southwest Denver.
I worry about heat in these classrooms. This school, other schools, I worry about that a lot.
Godsman is one of 14 Denver public schools that let out early today because of a lack of air conditioning. Yet the wait to get AC here could take years. Back in 2020, DPS prioritized which schools without AC would get it first. Godsman is number 48 on the list of 55.
Yeah, I wish that the little ones had a higher priority.
It was very hot.
That Amari, Mila, and students at Stedman Elementary in Park Hill are still waiting to see.
Like 200 degrees in there. We had fans to cool us off.
Stedman is at the top of the list to get air conditioning next, thanks to a bond measure passed 3 years ago. DPS ranks which schools will get it first based on a series of measurements. First, a temperature study to find which schools are the hottest. Next, an equity index to determine the percentage of students at a school that are classified as higher poverty or that don't speak English. And finally, a study on which schools without AC have the most students.
And it makes it really hard for them to learn.
Tara Willis picked up her third grade daughter from her first day of school and learned she went to the nurse complaining about headaches. Today, Stedman made the decision to also let students out early.
And not just the students, the teachers, the administrators have to teach this is not good working or learning conditions. It's not conducive to either.
The district says around 40 schools still don't have AC, but there's not enough money to install it in 31 of those, including here at Godsman.
I went and dropped her off this morning and it was, I'd say, 80 degrees in the classroom.
A classroom that becomes unusable on days like this.
There's a lot of schools without hope right now of getting air conditioning anytime soon.
When Denver voters passed the bond measure in 2020, DPS invested $130 million to install air conditioning in 24 schools. Only 11 of those construction projects have been completed so far. That still leaves dozens of schools without AC in Denver and without any plan to fund more projects that could get them AC anytime soon, Kyle.
Here's the thing that I don't get. There's about 40 schools without AC. They didn't all cancel or send kids home today.
No, only 14 of them did. 17 have already planned to do it tomorrow. But it comes down to a school-by-school basis, and it's up to principals to say, hey, we want to cancel classes or we want to let kids out early because of the heat. And then it goes to the district and they approve it. So seemingly in Denver, there are some principals who just say, hey, the kids can deal with it, or maybe they're a little sturdier in our school.
Maybe some schools are shadier than others. Take that however you want. Yeah, all right.
Multiple meanings.
Mark Salinger, thank you. Denver City Council is moving ahead with a plan to purchase 200 small shelters for people currently living on the streets, even though they don't have a firm plan on where those shelters will be placed. Full City Council still needs to sign off on this plan to spend $7 million. It'd be $5 million for the shelters and the furnishings, the rest to set them up in 3 different sites. The mayor's office says they are planning for those 3 sites to be in already paved areas, like parking lots. If the Douglas County Library System bans books tomorrow at the request of a conservative activist, the library board is going to be doing that over the objection of the library system's staff and their executive director. Board documents lay out that the head of the library system and its staff are recommending that the library board reject this censorship demand and don't so much as put a warning on the books. The book ban request comes from Aaron Wood. He's a conservative activist who's protested drag shows in Douglas County. He says 1 book in the youth section and 3 books in the adult section promote, quote, the destructive homosexual lifestyle. Library board meets tomorrow evening to decide whether to side with Wood or the library staff. So there will not be a strike by Xcel's electrical workers in Colorado. Union members have voted to ratify a new collective bargaining agreement. Details of this deal are not public. We do know what the union wanted. They wanted a 20% increase in pay over 3 years, 20% over 3 years. Xcel had been offering 13% over 3 years in other states. The union also wanted voluntary overtime and more guarantees for workers at coal power plants that are expected to shut down. So they're Coloradans who helped the state stop unemployment fraud, fake claims that have been filed in their name. For their trouble, they ended up getting flagged in the system and later got denied unemployment when they qualified for it. Marshall Zellinger has that story.
I was a digital forensics project manager. It sounds a lot cooler than it is. I pretty much just talk to lawyers all day.
Before she lost that cooler than it sounds job, Lisette Marlowe worked on preventing the state from paying out money it didn't have to. Someone tried to use her identity to file a fraudulent unemployment claim.
That was on the 23rd of December 2020.
Yeah, almost 3 years ago was when she got the notice from the state regarding an unemployment claim she never filed.
I was gainfully employed at the time.
So was Andrea in Westminster when she got this email in April confirming that she successfully submitted an ID theft report for someone trying to file unemployment with her information.
Somebody had my social security number and had filed for unemployment with the state.
Just a few months later, she got laid off and went online to legitimately file for unemployment.
At first it said it was going to send me an email because I already had an account, which I thought was strange because I'd never filed for unemployment before. But I'm staring at my email for like 20 minutes and then it dawns on me that it didn't go to my email. It went to the email that was fraudulent in the first place. So then I panicked all over again.
A spokesperson with the Department of Labor and Employment told us both Andrea and Lisette are victims of the state moving its fraud detection to its highest level. Since June, the number of fraudulent unemployment reports have dropped significantly, but both Andrea and Lisette previously reported fraud. They're not the fraud attempt.
I was victimized once, and now I feel like the state is just victimizing me all over again.
They said that I would need to wait at least 20 or 21 days from August 9th for them to even start investigating.
Even though Lisette reported her fraud in 2020, the state did not issue a formal decision deeming it fraud until August 9th, after she reached out again. Why does she have to wait another 21 days? The state blamed an antiquated federal law that also requires a 3-week waiting period to give the person, in this case Lisette's fraudster, time to appeal. So why did the state not deem Lisette's claim fraud in 2020? The answer I got is that reporting a claim as fraud is not enough to get a decision issued that it is fraud. The state again blamed that antiquated federal law. I got a copy of it. I'm looking through it now, Kyle, just to see what the law says that the state has to follow, because it's the federal law, federal government telling the state how to handle unemployment. So it's possible that there's just bonkers stuff in there that says even though people report something to you, you got to give the criminal an effort to claim that they're legit after all.
So I'm not the state. I'm just the guy on TV that the state doesn't like, and actually so are you. But if I were the state, I feel like I would want to come out and say, hey, we're going to fix this right away because we really want your help in reporting and preventing fraud. Because if Coloradans get the message that if you help report fraud and it costs you in the end, they're not going to do it.
Lisette told me how much effort she put in 2020 to call at midnight on Sundays to say that she had worked so that whoever was trying to claim it wouldn't get any money. So she should get a gold star and her unemployment that she's deserved now.
Fix it. Fix it, fix it, fix it. All right, Marshall, thank you. John Eastman was a visiting scholar at the Fulton County Jail today. The former CU Boulder visiting scholar turned himself in to face criminal charges for trying to overthrow the 2020 election.
Do you still think the election was stolen?
Absolutely. Do you regret attaching your name to the former president? None whatsoever. The president calls and asks for representation. I think every citizen in my position should be willing to stand up.
Right there, you heard it from the man. That's like a step short of one of those big no regrets neck tattoos. According to the 9-count indictment, Eastman admitted inside Team Trump that his plan to overturn the election results and keep Trump in power actually violated the law. He said just a little bit. Eastman said what he did was just politics and that he's protected because he was an attorney working for a client. Eastman quickly posted his $100,000 bond. He's out. He's good. He's currently working for the Colorado Republican Party these days, which has said it may pay him and another attorney up to $250,000 for a lawsuit trying to close their primaries. So this is interesting. The only six-figure bonds in this latest Trump indictment belong to Donald Trump, largest bond, then John Eastman, and then the only other one is another figure involved in Colorado politics, Jenna Ellis. She's an attorney and talk radio host. She's a fellow at Colorado Christian University Centennial Institute. She also got a $100,000 bond. Ellis has publicly complained this week that Trump is not paying for their legal defense.
You know, there's all types of different ethnicities out here, all kinds of incredible food that you don't see across the state in this one little pocket.
So for the first time, there are restaurants in Colorado that may get a coveted Michelin star, but chefs in the state's most diverse city say their food scene is getting snubbed. And we look at Colorado's wish list for the future of the Colorado River next. One wet year did not fix the Colorado River drought. It did give the states who rely on that river more time for their negotiations. As federal regulators start working on a post-2026 water use deal, Colorado has some requests. The Bureau of Reclamation is collecting input from the 7 states that rely on the river before they draft a new agreement for how the water will be used. Colorado told them they want future negotiations to focus on climate change and the possibility of drier years ahead. Colorado's negotiators are also saying that lower basin states, the folks downriver, California, Arizona, have been sucking more water out of the system for decades, while the upper basin states, like Colorado, have never used our full share.
We're highlighting that. We're putting a magnifying glass on the fact that we need to live with what Mother Nature provides and not exceed that on a continual basis. We have ideas. We have thoughts and ideas on how to better manage the system and be more responsive to hydrology. We will be submitting a plan. If the 7 basin states can't come together, we will be definitely putting our ideas there.
The lower basin states say making additional water cuts is not off the table, but they want to be paid for their trouble. Whatever agreement the states come up with will be submitted for review next spring. So it has been so hot in Denver lately, even our daily lows are record highs. The lowest temperature in Denver on Monday was 72 degrees. That is our warmest low since 2003. That turned out to be a one-day record because this morning's low was 73 degrees. That could tie the all-time warmest low temperature in Denver history, depending on how you look at the data. Official record book shows 2 temperatures in the summer of 1881 as our warmest lows, 77 and 76 degrees. But maybe you're thinking, I'm not sure how great they were at tracking temperatures. Indeed, they weren't. They didn't track them minute by minute till it was the airport in 1948. If you want to use the new metrics, today ties the record set in 2003. And Danielle Grant, we don't often talk about this because we don't get the extreme heat that, say, the Southwest does or the Middle East or parts of India or that kind of thing. But it is these warm lows that are the real life-threatening temperatures for people often.
Yeah, absolutely. And overnight you want to open up the windows, kind of let in some of that fresh air. You just can't do it when those temperatures are only falling into the lower 70s here in Denver. And of course, we were looking at lows around the desert Southwest in the 90s earlier this month. Take a snapshot of the month of August here in Denver anyway. Past couple of weeks, we have been looking at yes, above average temperatures in the 90s. But remember, we kicked off the month a little bit on the cooler side, and I do have some cooler temperatures on the way if you're just sick of it already. Triple digits across the northeastern corner of Colorado, as well as up toward Nebraska, 70s and 80s up to the high country. Head west if you want to cool off. It's not just us dealing with the heat. You can see much of the Midwest and across the South also looking at heat advisories and heat warnings. We have the advisory in place until 8 o'clock for those hot temperatures, and still we're holding in the 90s at this hour. This ridge of high pressure, you can blame it because we are still looking at the heat for the next couple of days. However, some moisture wrapping around that will push into the high country areas. We'll have to wait a couple more days to see that moving in here to Denver. Looking at the future cast real quick, you can see tomorrow morning a quiet start, few clouds by tomorrow afternoon, but most of the rain showers staying up in the foothills and through the mountains. 90s yet again on deck for us tomorrow, but like I said, cooler weather and wetter weather in store on Friday and Saturday.
And if you talk to a lot of other chefs, they come and eat in Aurora because it's different,
Different and awesome. Despite Aurora's foodie reputation locally, chefs there say they are being snubbed by a big-time food review. That's next. Best meal I've had in years was in Aurora a couple weeks back. I'm telling you, whatever you like to eat, you are going to find it in Aurora. Just an amazingly diverse food scene that reflects the diverse population of Colorado's third largest city. This is not exactly a secret in the food scene, unless you're, say, the people who give out Michelin stars to restaurants. Our Brian Wendland has that story.
I didn't have a name for myself, so it was hard to get people to lease anything out to me.
Caroline Glover's made quite the name for herself now. The chef and owner of Annette at Stanley Marketplace won Food & Wine's Best New Chef and has a James Beard Award, too.
It's really important, and it helps with staffing. It helps with, getting people through our door.
So when Michelin announced they were doing their first ever Colorado guide, Glover hoped her restaurant would make it in, maybe even get a coveted Michelin star. But she found out the city wasn't included. Only Denver County, Boulder County, and some parts of Eagle and Pitkin County, like Vail and Aspen, will make it in.
We were pretty shocked, mostly just because Aurora is such an incredible food mecca.
Shocked and disappointed, but not just for her restaurant. Aurora is Colorado's most diverse city, and its food scene reflects that.
So I want to see more restaurateurs here getting recognition that they deserve.
People like Siri Tan, who owns Urban Burma at Mango House.
So everybody wants to be in Denver, so that's why the rents are way more expensive.
He gets that the foodie hype is centered in Denver, but wishes more people would venture east and be more adventurous when deciding where to eat.
I wish people in Denver are more like adventure and food, like don't be scared.
It's a really big opportunity for a lot of other restaurateurs, and not even that, like our vendors, our farmers, everybody benefits from a light being shown on us, on the city itself.
It's a missed opportunity for the city, but Glover says it's a missed opportunity for Michelin too.
People that use the guide to check out a state will be missing out on a pretty big melting pot out here.
For Next, I'm Brian Wendland.
Spokesperson for the Michelin Guide would not say why Aurora was left out, just that they make decisions based on the amount of quote-unquote high-quality cuisine available in an area. Michelin's lack of recognition of diverse chefs has been widely reported in the past. A Bloomberg analysis counted just 6 Michelin-starred chefs across the world who are black. 6. 2 in the U.S. out of about 200 starred restaurants. All you want to talk about tonight in feedback was air conditioning. I've been reading the emails. Marissa just brought in a stack more. So let's talk about air conditioning in schools next. Let's talk AC in schools, or the lack of it. Laura says she grew up here, was on that Track A schedule, so she went to school through the summer months. She writes, I went to school all summer with no AC. There was no discussion. Nothing was changed. Yes, Laura, one of the things that we try to do as a society is perhaps improve things a little bit with each subsequent generation, Could you imagine if, like, your parents and grandparents and great-grandparents were intent on you going through every hardship that they went through simply because they went through it? I mean, if you're into that kind of thing, I'd start by hiding the TV remote, just walk back and forth all the time, then maybe learn to churn butter or something like that. Bill writes in, can't believe some students have no air conditioning. When I went to school in the 80s, the knowledge we took in was less than the knowledge we sweated out. See you next time.